Hi everyone, and I was just telling Viraj that you should have kept me before Azan because Azan was so funny. So now there's a lot of pressure. Okay, so I'm going to talk about biophilic because it's very close to my heart, and I believe in creating spaces which heal and work with your mental and physical well-being. So what is biophilia? It is basically love for nature, and it's about bringing in directly, indirectly the elements of nature in your built space. Okay. So this is basically, there's 14 principles of biophilia. So I won't bore you too much with the theory because then I'll have snore voices. So the first principle is the connection with nature. So when we design a project, we design everything which looks into the nature, which is not made by us, but they're naturally existing, because then it's very, very calming. And when you're in this space, which is in Powai, it's a commercial complex, you feel you're part of the whole, and that makes you feel very secure, safe, calm. So it evokes that emotion. This is people who've now just finished its Taj in Vikhroli. So this, again, if you see, everything is looking onto the actual, the shaded trees and all that. So it's aligned to looking at nature, and there are a lot of mangroves around. So that's the aim when you design the place like that. This is another principle which is called the non-visual connection. So this was, catering to a question. We stimulate all the five senses when you design. So if you see the water body there, this is Equinox at BKC. So you feel the water, you touch it. There is, these are stimulation of all the five senses. So there are these deciduous trees. You can't see the flowers because when I took the photograph, there were no flowers. So it's basically, there's a lot of smell, there is aroma. So we touch all the five senses by bringing in biophilia in the commercial fabric. So, it shuts the mind when you're too stressed with work and you see all this and you stimulate your five senses. You kind of take a break from the stress and anxiety that we go through at work. This is one of the buildings in Bombay, actually. We brought in, first time, such huge bamboos. So everybody's like, wow. So when you enter into this space, there are these huge 10, 12 feet bamboos in the atrium lobby, this Godrej one. And this brings in another principle where there is this pattern of, a lot of air temperature difference. So when you walk along the bamboo, there's a different feel on your skin. It's the temperature difference, the airflow difference. There's a lot of difference when you walk near the bamboo and as you go further. So that's something that you see in nature. There is a difference in temperature, variability. So we try to bring that in the built urban fabric to make you feel as if you're somewhere there and you're more connected. These were the entrance. So this is another principle where you create a temporary but a very deliberate stimuli. So it's like suddenly when you're walking, so the right one is going from one tower to the other. This is Equinox again. Where, suddenly you will see a bloom of flowers because we put deciduous trees. So suddenly you're walking and you're like, oh, wow, this is beautiful. There are these, sudden gush of flowers. And that attracts a lot of birds. It attracts butterflies. So it's a stimuli which is temporary, but very deliberate in design. So that's one of the principles we use. The left you see is like the approach to an office building, a data center. So when you're walking, you don't even realize you're stressed. You have, your boss has a meeting, too much of pressure to do your, financial targets, and you're not bothered and you're walking. And then suddenly there's this gurgling of water and you're like, oh my God, there is something else that exists in our life apart from financial pressure. So I always want to, bring in that element of biophilia where you break a man's thought process and come back to the moment. So this is the fourth. Okay, there are 14, so I'll go fast. This is one of my favorite. It is bringing in the natural process. It makes you aware that there is weathering in in the natural environment. There is seasonal changes. So we've used cotton steel in this project. So if you see the right corner top, cotton steel looks like that. It's brown, and then with time, it changes its color. So you see it becomes, orange. So when you see something like that, it reminds you that there is a cycle of life. There is seasoning, weathering, everything is transient. So why do we get so stressed every day? We can, just flow with the flow of life. And this was done to bring in that kind of an emotion. So we did these huge 12 feet walls of cotton steel. And when you walk through them, we had these spiritual quotes written on it. So it, completely cuts you off and brings you into the moment and connects you to what happens in nature. So this is the color now. I'll get you a picture 10 years later of how it look orange. This was the sixth principle where, again, if you see these big bamboos, we brought them huge into the atrium space of the commercial complex. So this gives a lot of shadow, light and shadow. So there's a lot of drama. So, when you walk, there's a drama in you see the whole pattern on the floor. So it's kind of distracting you, bringing you back into the moment, bringing you back into observing the moment. So we've done this. So that's the sixth principle of light and shadow. And you can do it in the night also. So with light, you can create, light and shadow and drama in the environment. Water is one of the most essential elements. We are all 80% water. So when you see, feel, touch water, you connect to your innate self, basically. So this is, again, the commercial complex where water is at the center of all the towers. So everybody looks into it. And also when you walk into it, you can feel it. And it's, that's why all my water bodies will be very flushed, where you don't just see it, but you really live it. It's like that. Biophilic principle also is about, symbolic representation of the forms and patterns and contours you find in the environment. So when you're going up especially when I fly up and I keep seeing the pattern, I'm like, yes, I will copy this for my new client. So it's like the sculpture garden in front of Taj. We've used this biomorphic form because it's very symbolic. It creates mystery. It's very exciting. So this is one principle is using that. Another principle is material connection. So every place has its own material. So like Indore has these beautiful stones. So using that, where you don't do too much of processing, you keep it natural. And then we carve into these patterns in the stone, which also represent the flora, fountain of the place. So, it's this sense of place we keep talking about, but we don't use anything of that place, and you then deviate from. So it's just a word that we use in concept, sense of place, but there is no sense. So this brings in that, I feel, is a distinction to the place. So we use it in all the elements in that. So we use it in pergolas and everything. This is complexity and order, another principle, so it looks complex. It's basically based on fractal geometries which are formed in the universe, but then it'll be a very theoretical thing. So before everybody sleeps, I'll change the slide. Then there is a principle called refuge. So prospect. So prospect is when you see something, from an elevated space, and you can survey the environment, you kind of scan it, and you feel you're free, but you're still feeling in control. So it's a sense that you evoke through creating a prospect, and this is, again, Godrej one, where you look into the mangroves, and so this is that space. Then refuge. So when your boss has really harassed you, you need refuge. If your client, team, everybody's harassed you, you need refuge. So we have given refuge in every commercial building that I have designed for the client, where, we give these pergolas. You can't see seats right now because it's early taken off, but we've given Wi-Fi, we've given desk, everything. So you can, kind of take a break from everybody who's stressing you out. Go to this space, sit, put your music, earphone, and work on your laptops and be happy. So this is a space of withdrawal, which is important to give for every commercial complex. Mystery. So like how we all like mystery in relationships, everything is revealed, it's boring. So we need to have mystery even in our urban fabric. So don't reveal everything when you go to a building or into a landscape. So what we do is try and, create that, okay, there is something exciting and I look forward to it, just like in a relationship. So we create mystery in design, in landscape especially. So something is beyond. So that again stimulates, it's exciting, it affects all your senses. And the last principle is risk and peril. So we all like danger, it excites us. And so in design also, if we include that as a principle, it's a lot of fun. So if you see the edge of this water body, we have designed it so that you feel you're going to fall into the water, but you will not really fall because it's just 50 mm deep, but it's a perception that you're going to fall and that's it. So it's when you create such elements inside the space, it kind of, excites you. So there is this danger, but obviously there is a safeguard, so we do the design like that. So this is one element which we can bring into our, commercial spaces, which can excite the user. So these are the 14 principles mainly, and this is the last slide. This is basically when I heal spaces. If nobody asks me a question, I'll tell you now that it's very important that what we design also heals a person. So it's not just about, creating design lines, but it's also to ensure that it heals a person. So all these elements, basically, they reduce heart rate, they work on your blood pressure, they work on your, they've done a lot of scientific research. So it works on your mental and physical well-being. So this is just a slide to show that what we are saying is true. That's it. So thank you so much. This was all for biophilia. And if anybody wants to know further, can connect to me. Thank you.
So will you take the questions now? Or we'll keep it for later?
No, I was praying when I was saying that if you don't ask me, that means it didn't go well because you asked him and him. So I was like, you need to ask me.
I don't want to isolate you here.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, see, really appreciate your presentation. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
I just wanted to get a sense, basic question. See, wherever we see the landscaping or this thing, the biophilia you're showing, it's all green in color.
Correct.
So it gives invokes the sense, the sensory in us. But what about the, transition of time, the trees which change with the season?
Right.
I've never seen people using that. Is there any specific reason?
No. So luckily, one of my...
So the fall is very good, the
Yeah.
brown color, leaves, this thing. But I see nowhere people using that.
Okay, so no, we've used deciduous trees in a lot of our commercial complexes, like I was showing that in Equinox and all, where there's a lot of leaf fall, so then you see bare trees. So it kind of evokes the sense of seasonal change and transition of life, actually. So we do that. I think honestly, sometimes our clients also say, I want everything green. Patta girna nahi chahiye, because they don't want to see it barren. So sometimes the pressure of the client that we don't put deciduous trees, but it's important that we do so. So yeah.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you. Yes.
Great presentation, Uma.
Thank you so much.
I myself, Hetal Jujar, an interior designer.
Wow.
So I could learn very good things, all
Thank
the 7 factors which you have shown. I have done one rooftop residential at Tilak Nagar.
Okay.
So knowing with your presentation, the answer to the sir is like, as there are plants and trees, those are flowering. So that adds upon the new colors, which is against the green color. So the visual, So the visual appearance of the greens which our client wanted, they wanted to have eyes, एक बोलते हैं, doctors say, green color से आपके eyes को benefit होता है. So one of our client wanted the plants which are flowering. So instead of green, it has lots
Different
of
flowers,
yellows, sunshines, lots of mustards, and also pink. So this was the factor which we went with the biophilic at one of our projects. So I want your advice at how this works with the biophilic.
So after architecture is my main profession, something I practice is healing in the mornings, and I've learned 3 things. That there are 7 chakras in our body, which are, won't get into it, root, sacral, solar, this thing. And there are 7 colors to the chakras in our body. So when you heal every chakra, it's like you open the doors of a room and all the windows and doors are open, so there's a lot of well-being. So every flower or element you use in landscape, if you give it all the 7 colors, you're somewhere sending in that frequency of that color, and that frequency actually starts healing you, and it's found out even, scientifically. So the 7 colors, if used in different ways, can actually heal a person at all 7 chakra levels.
Okay.
So I don't tell anybody in my class because they'll think that I'm talking, too much of mumbo jumbo. But I actually, when I design, I do the integration of this healing of colors and my design.
With the color psychology.
So I've also realized that when people walk through the spaces, like the data center client told me, I do all my meetings in your landscape more than my meeting rooms, because he's like, I don't know, I feel very calm. But he doesn't realize that our elements that we're designing actually have frequency And if you know the frequency that you emit with every element, you can actually heal the person.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not a question, but I
Okay.
just want to let you know that in Godrej 1, there are more people walking between the glass and the bamboo.
Yeah.
So they try to disconnect themselves from the
Yeah.
rest of us walking in and out by walking in between that space.
Yeah.
They're often found actually
Strolling.
taking brisk walks. So it, you know, it
feels very
disconnects
nice.
them. Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
sharing
that.
that. Thank you. Thank you everyone for patiently listening and not sleeping. Thank you.